Hello students, welcome back. So in this video, we shall be studying about trading in stock markets, the module 3. Uh, a specific topic I wanted to cover in this video, which is the types of speculators or speculation. It's quite an important topic from your exam point of view. It can either be asked as an 8 marker or it can even be asked as a 15 marker. So if it is asked as an 8 marker, you can write 8. There are a total of 12 points over here. So if asked as an 8 marker, you can write 8 points. And if asked as a 15 marker, you can write all the 12 points and also mention what we understand by the term speculation. Now, let us have a look at the different types of speculators in a stock market. So you have bull and a bear. I think if you have a look at my previous video and also if you remember some of our classroom discussions, we have already discussed what we mean by a bull and what we mean by a bear. So bull is when you're expecting the price to increase, you're purchasing now, thinking that once the price increases, you will sell it later and make a profit. Bear is where you're expecting the price is going to decrease. So thereby you sell, thinking that later once the price goes down, you will buy it back and thereby make a profit. Please have a look at the third point which is given over here. We have something known as a stag. So stags are those speculators who buy from the primary market and sell them in the secondary market. So what do we understand by the primary market over here is we are speaking about the IPOs or the FPOs. So whenever companies issue securities to the public, a fresh security which is coming to the public for the first time, we are calling them as IPO. And follow on public offer is when the company has already issued securities to the public, they are issuing a fresh set of securities to the public. We are calling it as a FPO or a follow on public offer or a further public offer. So while a speculator is purchasing from the IPO, normally the prices will be relatively low. The moment the stock gets listed, see, after the IPO, within a week, the stock gets listed in a stock market, be it BSE or NSE. The moment it gets listed, there are chances where the prices will start going up if the IPO was a success and the company is a very big company and the securities are viewed to be very profitable in the future. So in all these cases, in the primary market, normally the prices will be less, but once they enter the stock exchanges and trading starts in the stock exchanges related to these securities, prices are expected to go up. So a stag subscribes to an IPO, and once these shares are listed in the stock market and once they start trading, they sell it in the stock market at a very high price. Now, there is a note of caution that has to be exercised over here. Not all securities issued by way of IPO will definitely increase once they enter the stock exchanges. There are instances, especially sometimes the IPO might have sold at a premium. Many of the times IPOs which have sold for a premium may not perform that well in the stock markets. So what happens is sometimes IPOs are overhyped. You have too many expectations regarding the IPO, because of which many people tend to, there can be an oversubscription problem. And also many people, I think I've already explained to you in class something called as a price band, a range of price at which people can post their options to buy, can post their desire to buy. So sometimes in this price band itself, sometimes the price can go towards the higher end of the price band. So many people will quote a very high price to subscribe to that IPO. So obviously the price of the IPO also increases here. So it becomes an IPO which is sold at a premium. Such kind of IPOs, once they are listed in the stock exchange, and in case the company's financials appear somewhere poor after going through their statements and all those things, or some kind of problem happens within the company, they will not perform well in the stock exchange and the prices will start going down in the stock exchange compared to what was sold with the IPO. So this is a risk that a stag will end up taking. But many times it so happens that whatever is sold by IPO, once it enters the stock exchange, there is a good chance it will increase, but we have to be very careful. It might also go down once it enters to the stock exchange. Moving on to the fourth type of a speculator, you have something known as a lame duck. So a lame duck takes up the position of a bear. So what do we first understand by a bear? See, these are speculators who first sell and then buy. Now, a thought will come to us. How can you possibly sell something which you do not have with you? So, I'll give those. I'll give you a very simple example for you. Now, take an example of your bike. Now, you have a bike with you. You have promised to sell your bike to your friend at the end of this month, but you do not have a bike with you right now. All right. See, you are promising to your friend that you will be selling a bike, but at this point of time, you are not having any bike with you. However, your cousin has promised you to deliver his bike to you. In other words, you are planning to purchase a bike from your cousin, for which the delivery will be happening within the next 1 week. So what is happening here? You're not owning an asset with you, but you're promising your friend that you will sell you will sell your bike to him, for which he will be paying you, but the delivery of the bike will be happening only after 1 month. As of now, you do not have any bike with you. But on what grounds are you making the promise to sell the bike to your friend? Because you know that your cousin will sell his bike to you, and the delivery of that bike from your cousin is going to happen after 1 week. So your plan is to buy the bike from your cousin and sell it to your friend. This is what is a plan what you are having right now. But however, 1 week has passed, 2 weeks has passed, 3 weeks has passed, a month has also passed. Your cousin has not delivered any bike to you. The transaction has not taken place at all. So you do not have any asset with you right now. So how will you execute your sale transaction to your friend? You do not have any bike with you to sell. So this is a situation where a lame duck situation can arise in the stock markets also. What happens is a speculator promises to enters into a sell transaction also. But however, the physical delivery of it will take place a little later. So he is selling at a high price, hoping that that commodity, that shares will come to him at a lower price. He will be able to buy those shares at a lower price from some other person, from some other source. He thinks that once the shares comes to his hand, he will deliver the shares to the other party, to whomever he is selling. But in a situation where that stock is not available at all, he is not able to meet his commitment of selling the shares to his friend. So in this way, he's feeling kind of cornered. So this is a case where a speculator who is a bear is not able to meet his commitment for selling, not able to meet his commitment for the physical delivery of the shares. So this is a case of how a lame duck can arise. Now, before we move on to any other thing, I think it's better I explain one more concept which is connected to this lame duck. Have a look at this point known as cornering, the last point which is known as cornering. So this is actually a situation similar to a lame duck, but some kind of a cheating happens over here actually. So what happens is, we'll take the case of this example of you, a bike, your friend, and your cousin. Now, what happens relating to your friend is, your friend says that you promised your friend that you will deliver a bike. And in the meantime, you make a dealing with your cousin that you will be purchasing the bike from him. Now, however, unknown to you, your friend and your cousin have already exchanged the bike. All right. So the bike is being exchanged from the cousin to the friend. So right now the friend is having the bike with him. Although he's having the bike with him, he is convincing you to get into a sale transaction with him regarding that bike itself. His intention is at the end of a particular time, you will not be able to meet your commitment, and thereby a certain he can take you to court and claim damages and charge some kind of fine from you. So that is the intention of this friend over here. So thereby the same situation happens in cornering also. Certain people or group of people hold most of the equity, most of the assets with them. After holding the assets with them, they convince the bear speculators to enter into a sale transaction with them. These bear speculators also get into the sale transaction. But after getting into the sale transaction, they are not able to, at a later time, they are not able to buy that asset from outside anywhere because it's not available in the market. All the assets are there with this group of people. They are cheating. They are having the asset with them. Even then, they are convincing the bear speculator to get into a sale transaction. So the bear speculator, after getting into the sale transaction, tries to purchase the asset from the market, but it's not there in the market. Everything is hoarded in one place. So because of which, this bear speculator is unable to meet his commitment on that particular date. He is cornered. So this is the way in which a cornering situation also can arise. Now, what happens when you're taking a position of a bear, you're not able to meet your commitment, you're not able to make physical delivery of the currency, of the equity or anything for that matter. Normally what happens is the clearing house of the stock exchange will charge a fine from you, and they will pay compensation to the person who was affected because of non-delivery. So these people, the group of people who are holding the asset with them, they will be able to claim some amount from the bear speculator. So bear speculator ends up getting cheated, ends up losing some money in the form of a fine. So anyway, all these kind of transactions are not possible anymore, because after knowing that these kind of transactions and cheating is all occurring, the SEBI has made much more stringent rules to protect the investors and to make sure these kind of frauds do not happen. So as of now, I think we can say that whatever happens in the stock market is all a safe condition only. The SEBI makes one of the guidelines: nobody can take and possess too many of those stocks with them unless and until they want to control the interest with the company. So all these the speculators are protected now. So SEBI has come up with several guidelines to protect the interest of the investors. Moving on to arbitrageurs, again, I think in class and I think in my other video also, I have explained to you about who are arbitrageurs. So they buy from a market where the price is less and sell at a market where the price is high. They may buy from the NSE, National Stock Exchange, where the price might be less. They will sell at the Bombay Stock Exchange where the price might be high. Have a look at the next type of speculative transaction, something called as wash sales. So wash sales are basically fictitious transactions. It's not a transaction at all. Now, the reason why I'm saying is that, see, what happens is a person sells some of, gets into a sale transaction, sells some of his shares at a low price. Then they buy back the same shares at a high price. Now the bulk at which the shares are dealt with is too many. Too many shares are sold at a small price and too many shares are purchased at a high price. When too many shares are purchased, the demand artificially increases. See, prices in the stock market is determined based on demand and supply. If there is too much demand and the price of the demand is quite high, we notice an increase in the stock prices. So in a similar way, one person is selling some shares and buying back the same shares from another, same class of shares from another broker at a high price. You may think that he's silly to do so, but he's just waiting for things to warm up now. Once he buys the shares, a huge lot, I'm telling you, buys the shares at a high price, demand increases. So thereby the this one trend relating to the stock market starts increasing. So people start thinking that, okay, since the price is rising, let us, there is a rising trend in the stock market, so let us also keep purchasing. Prices keep going up because of this. So you're artificially playing around with the prices. Once the price reaches up to a very high level, those shares, what they are having, they sell it at a very high price. Okay, so first they sell at a low price. Then they buy the same class of shares from another broker at a high price, hoping to increase the prices of the stocks, artificially inflate the prices of the stocks. Once the price of the stocks increases to a very high level, they sell it at that high level and thereby make a huge profit out of the transaction. Then you have something known as options dealings. So there are, what is an option is, it's a right to buy an asset. If you want, you can buy it. If you do not, you need not buy it. So because you're exercising this right, you will have to pay something called as a premium. I think relating to options also, I think I have spoken about this in detail in the previous classes. So I would not want to go into this more in detail. You have something known as margin trading. So what we understand by margin trading is you're buying some shares from borrowed money. You do not have money with you, but still you're buying shares. You're able to buy those shares because you have borrowed money from someone. Who is that someone from whom you have borrowed money? It is the broker, your stockbroker. So stockbrokers, they deal in this also. Apart from helping you in purchasing and selling shares, they also lend some money for you for the purpose of speculations. So what you need to do is, we need to open a trading account. If we want to start trading with a stockbroker, we need to open 3 types of accounts. Normally, the same stockbroker will be dealing with all these accounts. You need to open a trading account. You need to open a demat account where your shares are electronically credited or debited if you're selling. And there should be a savings. This trading account should be linked to your savings bank account. So you open a trading account with your broker where you're depositing an initial margin. And you also promise to maintain that margin, maintain the money in the trading account at a certain level. So whenever purchase transactions happen, from your trading account, money gets reduced. The broker takes out money from your trading account and executes your purchase transactions. Whenever you're selling, your trading account gets credited with the sale proceeds. So these are some of the functions of how the trading account operates. And in case you fall short of cash, the broker will lend you money for the purpose of continuing your trade. So, and what is the security is for the broker is, you would have deposited certain margin amount in your, with your trading account, isn't it? That margin amount will be the security. And not only the margin amount, you may have to deposit some shares as well in your account with the broker. So whatever shares you're owning, which is in a dematerialized form, in the demat, those shares have to be deposited with the broker. The margin amount, the cash or the securities act as, or the shares act as a security deposit for the broker to lend you money for you to continue trading. So this is how margin trading works out. Then you have something known as a blank transfer. So blank transfers are basically when a transaction happens, but it doesn't happen in your name. It is a nameless transaction actually. So this is again something which is not allowed by the SEBI. Blank transfers it's been forbidden by the SEBI. Next, carryover or badla transactions. Carryover transactions or badla transactions is where you and if you're taking the position of a buyer, you and your seller enter into an agreement where you postpone the date of physical delivery of the securities to the next month, or it may be any other time duration in the later, any other later time duration it can be. Cornering, I think I've already explained to you how cornering works. Now there is one more point which has not been mentioned over here. There is something known as rigging. So rigging is also a situation where the prices are artificially driven up. What happens is, a group of buyers join hands. Now, those group of buyers, at one point of time, collectively, they indulge in purchasing one particular type of share. So obviously, at one point of time, so many people are purchasing that share, prices start going up again. Other people will think that since prices are going up, the stock is performing well, so they will also start purchasing. If other people also looking at how prices are going up, start purchasing, prices will keep going up to a certain level. Once the price reaches a certain level, this group of people will sell those shares at a very high premium and thereby make a profit. Again, rigging is market rigging is again is an activity which is forbidden by the SEBI. So stringent regulations are enforced by the SEBI to make sure the investors' interests are protected. So I shall be signing off with this topic for this video. I will see you later with other topics related to Module 3 in our next video. Thank you.